let's get into the TAP score results. And I'll link up TAP score as well. This is basically an at-home water testing service, and it's so easy. You literally fill up 2 tubes that they send you, one a little bit larger, one a little bit smaller. You screw them tight, you ship them back in the box that they come in, and they give you the return paid address. Like, it's really easy to use. I'm hoping they give our community a discount for this, because when you check this out, I think you may be interested in it, but of course I will let you decide. So what I decided to do is, because there's a lot of back and forth about the Berkey water filter. Does it take out aluminum or not? Because a lot of people are seeing aluminum, or some people are at least saying they see aluminum in their water. So I said, well, I don't want my 2 daughters drinking aluminum. Not that I want to drink aluminum either, but if you have kids, you know, like, you do everything for your kids. And so I don't want my daughters drinking aluminum. We work really hard in my house to not have any aluminum-based baking soda or baking powder or pans or spatulas or whatever. So obviously we don't want them drinking aluminum in their water. So, and then there's a lot of people speaking negatively about the Berkey water filters. And I just wanted to say, listen, like, hey, if it's there, it's there. We got to call it out, because I'm unbiased and I'm fair about this. But also, I mean, if there's nothing going on, let's also build them up. Let's say, hey, like, what if there is nothing wrong? So let me go over the lab tests right now. I'm going to give you these for download. I don't think there's any private information on them of my information. If there is, it will just redact it, I guess. But I'm going to send it to you. I'm going to go through it right now. All right. So they test for almost 200 different markers. And basically, they're looking for all sorts of chemicals in your water. So let me tell you what was in my tap water. It starts out with the pH. The pH of the water is an 8, so that's pretty good. Anything above a 7, 7's about a neutral. 7.14 is about a neutral pH. So an 8 is slightly alkaline. And the reason why it's, just to cut right to the chase, the reason why it's slightly alkaline is that in my water, there's some, and this is just coming out of the tap, magnesium, sodium, calcium, and that's going to make your water a little bit more alkaline. Nothing wrong with that. It's not like it's super alkaline. So all good. Total dissolved solids. This is important. I'll mention why in a moment. Again, I'm going through my tap water, not my Berkey water right now. It's a 206. Total dissolved solids, that's pretty good. Again, in the 200s, that's a good amount of minerals. All right, and then we're just going to move on. All right, so we're going to move on. The lab test goes through, like I said, around 200 different markers or so. Everything from, we're talking about pesticides, petrochemicals, volatile organic compounds, all sorts of things like arsenic that you just don't want in your water. So, unfortunately, in my tap water, there was some barium. You don't want barium in your water. All of these things, well, not all of these things, but that's a naturally occurring one. And you might say, well, if it's naturally occurring, no big deal. Totally get it, totally understand. But the problem is it can come from, like, why is it in my water? It's used in petroleum production. It's used in radiology. It's used in pyrotechnics. Like, what is that doing in my water? It's not supposed to be there. Okay. So that is one I needed to make sure that my Berkey took out. And the other one is bromodichloromethane. This one was quite elevated. And so you say, okay, well, what's all this about bromodichloromethane? Well, the problem with this one is that it is used or was used as a flame retardant. So this is a problem, right? These are things, this is a true carcinogen that is in the water. It's essentially, when you look at these things, you say, okay, these things are supposed to not be in the water. These are sometimes in the environment. Sometimes they're man-made. What is it doing? Well, the thing is, these things can seep into our water-based supplies. So not as good. Think of it as basically a solvent. If you want to, a flame retardant or solvent, not good, being in your water and potentially carcinogenic for sure. So that was in my water, not ideal. Now we're going down to fluoride. The fluoride was about a 0.6, or it is a 0.6. I'm going to give you a little feedback on that just a moment when we look at the Berkey water filter. Magnesium's a 1.38. That's fine. Nitrates, fine. They're 0.3 and 0.28. I'm not as concerned about those, but I certainly don't want a whole lot of nitrates in my water. That's for sure. Like, I don't want to be consuming these. I stay away from them in general. there is a lot of issues concerning nitrates and nitrites. When overdone, they can be used as certain preservatives, etc. So again, I don't want a lot of that in my water. Potassium was a 2.86, sodium 28.8. Strontium sounds like a strange one, right? Only 0.247, but strontium is actually a mineral that's used for our bones. No issues there. And then sulfate at 27.8. I have no issues with sulfate for the most part. Sulfur in general is in many waters, especially volcanic-based waters. So overall, what am I looking at for my tap water? I don't want the fluoride in there. I don't want the nitrates or nitrates in there. Nitrate. I don't want the barium that I spoke about, and I definitely don't want the bromo dichloromethane. So let's see if the Berkey did its job taking these things out. All right. So let me shrink down my screen a little bit so I can find it all. Oh, let's go back. All right. So the pH was an 8. The total dissolved solids was a 219, so about 10 more points higher, or technically 13. Now, this is important. I call this out for a specific reason, and the reason is that these were very close in water samples, but the thing is, I had to let my Berkey drain, overnight, let that water come in. So one sample was in the morning, and one sample was from essentially the night before. So, you're going to see slightly different numbers for that fluoride number, and part of it could be the actual sample of water taken. I want to give Berkey the benefit of the doubt, okay? So alkalinity is the same, and that makes sense because, again, there's about the same level of minerals. So calcium, 42.3. We've got chloride in here of 43.6. We have none of the barium. We have none of the bromo dichloromethane. So again, the Berkey did take those out. I was very happy to see those. There is no nitrites left in this sample. There was a little bit of nitrate, and let's see. So the nitrite was taken out, and the nitrate was 0.9, and before it was about a 0.3. Okay, and then we are moving on to the potassium, which is a 3.53, the sodium, which was a 30.8, the strontium about the same at a 20.227, and the sulfate at a 20.6. Now, the one that we didn't want in there, got rid of all the nasty ones that we didn't really want, right? But fluoride is in there at a 0.6. So again, I'm going as this is basically a 1-for-1 because the Berkey itself can't put fluoride into the water when it doesn't have fluoride in any of the filters or the actual case itself, which is stainless steel. So here's the thing. There was no aluminum detected at all. A lot of people are saying that their Berkey is adding aluminum to their water. So I did some research on this. It does seem that the fluoride filters are the thing to blame. So Berkey right now is taking their fluoride filters off of their website and saying they're out of stock. I haven't spoken with Berkey. I don't own any stock in Berkey. To right now, it's the simplest water filter and best one that I know of without having like a whole house reverse osmosis water filtration or an under sink mount or any of those things. Again, it's the simplest, best right now to my knowledge. In the future, will there be a better one? Potentially, if Berkey doesn't continue to innovate. But here's the thing. So the aluminum is coming from aluminum oxide for some people because the inside of the fluoride filter has aluminum oxide to help bind up the fluoride. That's how it works. Here's the issue. I have fluoride filters in my Berkey. They're about 3 to 4 months old. Did they stop working? Well, maybe, or they didn't work, right? So it's either one or the other. They either stopped working or they didn't work. And I believe that Berkey knows that it has some work to do on these fluoride filters. Eliminating fluoride from water is very challenging. Unless you're doing reverse osmosis, I don't know of a water filter that claims they can take fluoride out of the water. Berkey was the first one to try to do that with add-on filters. So here's the thing. I don't have an issue with Berkey at all. There was no aluminum here. It's doing a good job of taking out the nasties from the water. That's it. I mean, it did it. Like it's right here in my lab results. This company doesn't know Berkey. So here's the deal. I have no problem recommending Berkey. I will tell you, it does not take the fluoride out of your water. And to me, that's still an issue, right? It's still an issue. The problem is now I look at it like this. Okay, so I either have to do a reverse osmosis, which I don't love because then they're taking all the minerals out of all the water and then I have to add them back in. So there's that issue, right? And then there's the next issue that I buy bottled spring water. And then if I buy bottled spring water, well, it then comes in plastic containers for the most part. Okay, so now I'm buying water that's now housed in plastic and maybe it got heated along the way. So there's that issue with plastics. So there's no perfect solution unless you literally bottle your own water. And then at that point, at a spring, you need to make sure that there's no bacteria in it, right? So it's a bit of a conundrum. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I don't have an issue with Berkey. I'll just say that right now. I have no issues with Berkey. I don't know of another water filter that takes fluoride out of the water. I hope that Berkey figures it out. And I will probably eventually have to look into reverse osmosis water and adding my own minerals back in, which is, yes, going to be a bit more of a pain. But for now, this is basically what I'm working with. So I just wanted to share that with you. Take it for what it's worth. I believe that you have those three main options, and I think every family will decide what is best for them. I'll link up the report here. If you want to run your own water, always recommend it. I will hopefully be able to get you a discount on that by going to stevencabral.com/2261. And you'll also be able to read my lab reports right there as well.